Our Region's Business is sponsored by PNC for the achiever in you. Our Region's Business. Innovation, transformation, momentum. Improving our communities and driving technologies that will shape our region for generations. The collaboration that brings vitality, prosperity, and life to living. Stay with us for the coming half hour as we examine in depth our region's business. Now, here's your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on Our Region's Business, a little showbiz. We'll see what the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust has in its lineup for the holidays. Plus, our region's newest high school mixes education with the real world of work. But first, PNC has taken the pulse of small and mid-sized business owners in Pennsylvania, and more of them say they're planning to hire additional full-time employees as well as give some raises. Pete Vaccaro is back with us today. He's Executive Vice President and Market Manager of Business Banking with PNC. Howard MacKay is President of West Penn Laco, and Scott McKay is Vice President of West Penn Laco. Welcome. Good to have you all here.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Pete, so we have you down every 6 months or so, and at least the last couple of visits, the news has been getting a little better, a little more optimistic. What did you find this time out?
And that continues. So the optimism continues as we finish out 2015, and very optimistic going into 16. Primarily, and you stated it earlier, as it relates to most businesses are anticipating hiring employees as well as boosting salaries, which is very, very exciting. And more than half said they expect their sales to increase during the course of the year as well. The flip side of that would suggest that, credit demand is still tepid at best. And businesses have taught themselves how to use their own money, investing into their businesses, still reserving a lot of cash. In addition to that, I would say that, and these guys probably could corroborate that finding skilled labor in this market is a very difficult task.
Well, I wondered about that, especially when you're saying they're planning to pay more. It's seldom just out of pure generosity. Often it's because it's a supply and demand issue.
Exactly.
I think that's part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. It's very, very difficult, as I had mentioned. And the survey says it several times. Finding skilled labor in this area is very, very difficult.
Well, we can ask about that, Howard. So first off, what exactly is West Penn Laco for people who don't know the company?
West Penn Laco is a company that was founded in 1937 by my grandfather. We're in the industrial gas, welding supply, automotive supply, and propane business.
Okay, and how wide a territory do you serve?
We cover the 5 counties that are close to the Allegheny, and we also will go and sell major equipment in just about any place that's available.
Very cool. So how is it going right now? What's the market like right now here in our region?
It started out real strong in the first quarter, sort of flattened out a little bit in the second and third, but we're seeing signs that things are improving right now in the fourth quarter.
So when you look at Pete's survey and you see this sense of optimism, you guys are sort of in the same camp, a little bit of sort of guarded optimism about where we're going?
That's what I would say is a little more guarded optimism. We are not optimistic. Guarded optimism would be true.
Well, you can see some potential upsides.
We see some potential, and if certain things happen, it could be great potential.
Well, there's been some talk, we were talking a little earlier about the prospect for an ethane cracker in the region, what that could mean. There's been some movement by the federal government finally in investing in highways and some other things. All of that would have a material impact on a business like yours?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what about then the talent side? Pete mentioned it's getting harder to find people around here. Do you find that too?
Well, even when business was a little slower for us, if we found the right individual, we would snap them up. But we do find that if something happens where we need somebody immediately, it's not always easy to find the right person for the right seat.
Yeah, and what kind of people? Who works for a company like West Penn Laco, and who do you have the hardest time finding?
Drivers right now.
Really?
We have a CDL hazmat licensed driver, and we have the hardest problem is finding drivers. But we also have an older workforce, and we're looking at replacing people as they retire. So you have to get somebody that's trained, and truthfully, we don't see the passion for our type of business that we used to see.
Yeah, what's interesting, I was at the annual meeting of the Allegheny Conference last week, and I think they said something like there are 278,000 baby boomers currently in our labor force who will be eligible to retire over the next 10 years. So you guys are already experiencing it. It sounds like this is going to go on for a while. We've got to be a lot more creative as a community to try to deal with the issue. I wonder, Pete, you talk about the financing aspect of all of this. I mean, the fact that people are reluctant to borrow cannot be good news for a banker.
You know, our business has changed, has transformed in many ways. Businesses are very interested in their payment practices, the ability to accept payments, whether it's through merchant service, or make payments. And making payments expeditiously gives them the opportunity to take advantage of discounts, which are very, very important to them. So the payments business is critically important as a business thinks about their cash flow and how fast they can get it and how efficient they can be with it. So you think about that, you also include online technologies such as mobile banking or ATMs. And in today's world, a business can make a deposit up until 10 o'clock at night through an ATM or a mobile deposit and get credit the very next day, which is very, very good and efficient for our business owners today. In addition to that, business owners are interested in understanding what their cash will look like in the future. So we at PNC have a cash flow insight tool that has proven to be very beneficial for business owners so that it can predict their cash at crunch times during the course of the year, so that they could take advantage of opportunities that exist in the marketplace at certain times during the course of the year.
That's fascinating. So it's a different type of financial management than thinking, I want to borrow a loan because I need to buy a new piece of equipment. This is really now about how you use financial strategies to kind of better manage the business on an ongoing basis. You guys do that too?
Absolutely, and what we've seen just recently is PNC has really come to the forefront and offered us some excellent opportunities of investing money where our money will not be tied up for a long period of time and we can have access to it, yet we can generate more interest than we can from other commercial institutions.
And do you find that sort of the flexibility of it is more and more important these days?
I would say that the flexibility of it, you don't want to get tied in and where all your cash is tied up and then things get tight and you can't access it. And as I said, PNC has come to us with some very lucrative ways that we can put excess cash into PNC accounts and generate some reasonable interest.
Very cool. Well, fascinating stuff. Well, hopefully, you know, things will start to pick up even more as we head into the new year, and West Penn Laco, after all these years, will have many more good years to come.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Howard MacKay, Scott McKay from West Penn Laco, Pete Vaccaro from PNC. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill.
Good as always to see you, Pete.
Same
Thanks
here.
so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Next up, a new approach to bringing the real world of work right into the high school. Stay with us.